I've been a dedicated Apple Watch user since day one. I pre-ordered the first Apple Watch, and that was actually the first Apple product that I had ever pre-ordered, and I loved it from the jump. And now we're on Series 9, and there's been so many things that have been added to the Apple Watch, and I just constantly am finding new things that I love about it. There's obviously the core things that I use for it every day, but every time a new watch comes out, I get excited about what the possibilities could be. And this thing is like part of me. When I leave the house without it, I feel naked, I feel lost. And say what you will about that, but all I'm trying to say is that I love this thing. And I have to say, out of all of like technology and Apple products and all that stuff, because I know I am the resident tech nerd and Apple nerd for a lot of the people that I know, I have to say consistently, the thing that I get the most questions about from the widest range of people is my Apple Watch, because it's an intriguing piece of technology. It's not something that necessarily people quote unquote need. There are actually needs for it, and like when it comes to health stuff and whatever, that some people have found that this is the perfect device for them, but it's an auxiliary device. It's an additional thing. And while I absolutely love my Apple Watch and I think a lot of people could have use cases for it, I understand it's not for everybody and not everybody needs one. But if you're somebody who's thinking you might benefit from one, I understand the curiosity. And over the years, over these last, it feels like a decade, I think it's almost a decade actually, I think it came out in 2015. But over all these years, I have gotten pretty consistent questions. So I kind of came up with like an FAQ of the questions that I get from people that I know. And maybe if you're somebody who's kind of considering an Apple Watch, this will be a helpful video. So I'm gonna do my little FAQ first, and then I do have some like the things I use it for. But these are the most commonly asked questions that I get about my experience with an Apple Watch. Do you think having an Apple Watch makes you go on your phone less? Short answer, yeah, I think so, because the things that I would go to like check my phone frequently for would be time, weather, and if I had text messages from my mom. And the fact that I can lift my wrist right now and see time, date, day of the week, and the weather all at a glance, like that's the stuff I'm gravitating to my phone for. Also, being able to be contacted by my mom, particularly like when I'm at home, if I have my watch on, I probably have left my phone in my room. Not because I'm like intentionally leaving it there, but for me, I just need to make sure that I am reachable for my mom and that I can reach her if I needed. And so having all of the most important things about my phone here, contact, and time and weather, like I think that keeps me away from my phone. Now, granted, if I go onto my phone because I wanted to send somebody an Instagram message, or I wanted to show somebody a photo or take a picture, that's where the gateway of staying on my phone for a little too long opens. But for the most part, yeah, I think I'm on my phone less thanks to my watch. I think the amount of times I'd go on my phone would go up more if I didn't have my watch, because I notice I have my phone with me more when I'm not wearing my watch. Do you use it for working out? Yes, all the time. I do not do a workout without my Apple Watch. I'm like, if I'm not tracking it on my Apple Watch, it didn't even happen. And the thing that I like about it is that my main workout right now is running or walking. And I like, particularly for running, to be able to see the statistics that it gives you. There are different apps that you can get, but the native like Apple Fitness app where you can track your workouts and like go into the details on that, you can see the splits on your runs, what your heart rate was, what the temperature was of the day you were running and where you ran. You can see the elevation. You get a lot of detail from that. And I'm not like a crazy distance runner looking into my recovery and all these things, like all this detail, but you do get a lot of detail. But for me, of just knowing like what my pace was, what my heart rate was, and what my recovery was, being able to see all that, I really enjoy. So yeah, I absolutely use it to work out. Do you wear your Apple Watch while you sleep, and is it noticeable? So first, yes, I do wear it while I sleep. I would say probably every night I wear it, unless if it's dead before going to bed, but that's a very rare thing to happen. Back when the first Apple Watch came out, the battery life wasn't long enough to last you through the day and through the night, but now they've kind of improved over the years. So I definitely wear it to go to sleep, and I do not find it noticeable. You do have to remember I have been wearing an Apple Watch for almost a decade. So like I said earlier, this thing's a part of me now. I don't really notice it when it's on. I notice it when it's not on. My arms have balanced out. Like these feel even. I don't feel the weight. I feel lighter when it's gone. So yeah, I sleep with it. It's totally comfortable. I have different bands. I have some that I find a little bit more comfortable sleeping in, but like honestly, I sleep with this band. I sleep with other bands. I'll show you my bands later, but yeah, I wear it while I sleep and it's totally fine. How is it with tracking sleep? So I'm not somebody who really is into sleep tracking as far as like deep sleep and core sleep and REM sleep and all that stuff. I more so want to know like, was I sleeping? how long was I sleeping for? But there is a section of the health app that I'll show on screen now where you can get more like detailed sleep data. I don't really like, that's not something that super concerns me or intrigues me in any way. There are third-party apps that I've tried to use, and I just, like I said, I just kind of can't get into it because it's not a high priority of mine. However, if you are somebody who is really concerned with sleep, there are tons of apps out there. You can use the native like sleep data within the health app. I have heard from people who are like really like big into knowing what your sleep data is and all that stuff, that the Apple Watch might not be the most detailed. Like there's the Oura Ring, there's the Sleep 8 bed that people use, whatever, to track all that stuff. But for me personally, and what my basic sleep data desires are, this meets it totally fine for me. And you can even get trends. That's what I like, is that it will kind of tell me like, oh, you've slept more this week, or you've slept significantly less than last week. So I like it for that. Another thing I do like about it, not on the tracking sleep thing, but the wearing it while I sleep thing, is that you can have your alarm set off on your watch, which helps me get up because it's a vibration and a sound. And then you can also turn it off from right there, which is a little bit of a double-edged sword, because having quick access to your alarm is good for turning it off, but then it's also bad for making it easier to snooze. So take that as you will. Do you think your Apple Watch helps you be less sedentary? I would say yeah, totally. Because one, I'm kind of like encouraged to do more workouts because I have the rings, and so I want to make sure I'm closing my rings. That is like a close your rings challenge is a big thing, and I'm definitely somebody who gets absolutely into that. Like making sure I'm closing my rings, earning the medals that you can get within the Apple Fitness thing. There's like, oh, you've had this many perfect weeks of closing all your rings, and you've had this many perfect stand weeks where you met all your stand goals, or you met your exercise goal or whatever. And all those goals are adjustable, like how many calories you burn and whatever. If you've looked into Apple Watches at all, or you know anybody with an Apple Watch, you've probably heard about like the stand notification, because the 3 rings that are on the Apple Fitness rings is move, exercise, and stand. And so every hour at the 50-minute mark, if you haven't stood up that hour, you'll get a notification that says stand and move around a little. I would say probably 8 out of 10 times when I get that notification of stand up, I do. I'll stand up and walk around my room, or I'll use that as the opportunity to like go get a drink from the kitchen or whatever. But I would say probably like 8 out of 10 times. I feel the vibration on my wrist, I look at it, it says stand up, and then even sometimes I'll just and then get back to what I was doing. For me, that notification helps me move. So long story short, yes, I do think my Apple Watch helps me be more active, or encourages me to be less sedentary. Is the Apple Watch durable? I'd say yeah. I've done a few times where I've taken a nice tumble, or I've been in a show where we had stage combat, and there was one time that I remember I was certain I had cracked my watch screen. Was doing stage combat and I fell on the ground in the wrong way, and I like thrunked my arm back and it landed on the stage, and there was no scratches, there was no cracks. Knock on wood, this never happens, but I've never damaged my watch, and I have whacked it into poles and into steel frames, into doorways, into other people. My friend just recently was walking and he clanked watches with a stranger, and then like 5 minutes later, it happened with me. We clanked watches, and she's still nice and pretty. So I do have the stainless steel one, and I believe the glass is still a different material on that. I've never had the aluminum one because I just like the stainless steel. I think it looks a little bit nicer, and since I am wearing this every day, I want it to look nice. I do believe they are a little bit more durable, but I've also never really known of anybody who had the aluminum ones who's busted it either. So I think they're pretty durable. What bands do you use for your Apple Watch? Oh, wow. Well, I'm gonna make a video about this because I love my Apple Watch band collection. I probably have the most Apple Watch bands that I've ever seen anybody ever have. It's a collection at this point, and I've collected this over the last 10 years, but I use primarily this section here is the sport bands, and that's what I have on now. And what I like about these bands is, one, these are the cheapest Apple branded ones, which I should note, I only use Apple branded watch bands. Now, I have plenty of friends who have Apple Watches who use third-party bands or something random from Amazon. I've never heard a bad thing about any third-party watch band. I've never heard a story of, oh, I bought this band on Amazon and then it fell off, or I bought this band from OtterBox and then it wouldn't attach, whatever. I've never heard of any stories like that. But for me personally, I have like a $600 computer strapped to my wrist. I am the type of person that wants to go with the manufacturer's recommendation on how to keep that tiny computer attached to my wrist. And I like these bands. So there's the sport band, it's made of fluoroelastomer, and then you have the sport loop that is like a fabric and it's Velcro. I love both of these. These are my favorites. I do also have some of the woven solo. What is this one called again? I'll put the name on screen. I'm at a loss, but this one's kind of like a fabric-y one. I do have the Milanese loop, which is a stainless steel band, but this is like my fancy one. But yeah, I would say these are the main ones that I wear. You can see in this box that these are mostly all of the sport bands, and then I've got a handful of the fabric ones over here, and I think they're really comfortable. When it comes to working out, I more often than not wear the sport ones because they are not porous. You can wipe them clean, waterproof, you know, all that stuff. The fabric one I wouldn't want to wear if I knew I was going to be sweating a lot, whatever workout I was doing, or if I was swimming, because I just don't want to have to worry about drying the fabric. But if you're looking at getting cheaper Apple branded ones, look online for ones that are discontinued, because although that might sound counterintuitive that the price might go up if they're discontinued, I found I really wanted, like I said, I'm a collector. So I really wanted this apricot orange band that came out in like 2018. And this was like 2019 I was looking for it. So I found it on Walmart's website, but it was only $30 instead of $50. So check out that. I've also found them recently at TJ Maxx and Ross, or if you're in the UK, TK Maxx. So you can find Apple branded ones there. Some people sell them online, like, you know, Poshmark or Vinted or whatever. So I've gotten mine at discounts, so, you know, just keep your eye out. But I personally really like the Apple branded ones. How do you keep your Apple Watch clean? I just use a microfiber cloth, honestly. I have this one that's like a glasses cleaning cloth. I have a different microfiber cloth, and I will just kind of like wipe it down. And I have to say, if you're not diligent about it, it was a little gunkier earlier, I'm not gonna lie. So just kind of, when you take it off, if you're concerned about it being dirty, wipe it down and then it's fine. I just use water on it. How do I clean my bands? Once again, I mainly just use water. On the cloth ones, I have a white sport loop, and you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, at least on camera, but it's a little dingy. And so every once in a while I take like shampoo or dish soap and I wash it in the sink, and then I let it sit out and dry for a really long time, pat it dry or whatever. But as far as these ones, I just wipe them down with water and no big deal. Give it a nice little wipe. Spray it down with some water. You're good. This is not a question I was thinking about for the FAQ, but I would say as far as upgrades go, I do not upgrade my watch in the way that I upgrade a phone. So my first watch was the first generation, and then I got the Series 3, so that was 2 years later. The next year I got the Series 4, and then that I got in 2019. And then last year for my birthday, my mom got me this Series 8. We both got Series 4 at the same time, and then we both got Series 8 at the same time. So that was about 4 years in between. And the only issue that I was really having with my Series 4 watch like last year is that it was dying like crazy. And so obviously the battery life is improved when you get a new device, but otherwise like I had no issues. I didn't feel that it was slow. It was more so that it would just die really fast. If you're also concerned about getting a watch and like having to upgrade it like every 2 years or whatever, I don't intend on upgrading my watch anytime soon. It does the job. It's great. It lasts all day. That's the only thing I want it to really do, is last all day, and it does that, and all the other stuff I'm used to, so I'm happy. Okay, and the last thing I just want to talk about was like the things that I use my Apple Watch for, because I would say that is another like frequently asked question, is what do you use it for? Like a little bit the question turns into a convince me to get it. And I'm not here to convince anybody to get an Apple Watch. While I think you'd love it, if you don't want it, that's your life. I've got my Apple Watch, I'm happy. But if you're looking for the like, what do you use it for, as a inspiration for what you might use it for, or if it's right for you, this is the list of things that I use it for. You can ping your iPhone, which is, I use that feature. It's the first thing I wrote down when I was making my list of like, what do I use my watch for? I ping my phone so many times. If your phone is on silent, do not disturb, the volume's all the way down, I can go to my watch right now. And there's nothing you have to like turn off or dismiss if you're by yourself and somebody can't call you. But also, if they call you and your phone's on do not disturb, or the volume's off, or it's on silent, it's not gonna matter anyway. So literally, I was in a show once and I did that, and I had a friend who, right after I did that, because we were leaving, I had my big old bag of makeup and stuff and whatever, and I was like, oh no, where's my phone? Pinged it, heard it in the bag, I went, all right, it's in my bag, we can go. and I left, and he went, I'm buying a watch tomorrow. And I think it was either the next day or the day after, but like the end of the weekend, he had a watch on his wrist. Because of that thing alone, it's a lifesaver. But aside from pinging my phone, I like it for seeing texts, seeing info at a glance. That's another nice thing. If I get an email, there's a few people I have as listed as VIPs, and so I'll get a notification when I get an email from like my boss or my mom or somebody like that, and then you can read a preview of the email. You can actually read the whole email as long as there's not any like attachments or whatever. It's nice to see information at a glance. Another thing I use it for is monitoring my heart health. Now, it's not like I'm like hardcore tracking it. I do have like a slight heart condition, and so sometimes I get a little bit nervous about it, and it's just nice peace of mind more than anything that I can go onto my watch, do a little ECG, check my heart rate, and then I can also go into the health app and just see some of my heart data, see what my trends have been, if anything is going up or going down that shouldn't be. It warns you a million times like Apple Watch can't track for heart attacks and whatever, but like it's nice to have just more than anything a peace of mind, but just to have that data, I personally appreciate and I use a lot. Oh, timers. I use timers all the time. If I'm cooking, if I'm waiting for the wash, if I'm doing a timer for something, I'm putting my soda in the freezer because I don't want to wait forever for it to get cold in the fridge, and I set a timer so that way it doesn't freeze into an ice cube. That might just be a me situation, but that is another reason why I use the timer. I use the timer on my watch all the time. It's the best. Because also I have a little, they're called complications on the watch, but essentially a widget that I can press on and then it takes me to the timer. I can ask to do it, but I can also click on the timer button, set a timer, and it's great. Workout tracking, I talked about that, but I love it. Apple Pay is really handy. Sometimes you just don't know where your phone is, or when I'm wearing a dress that doesn't have pockets, my phone's normally tucked away in like my bag somewhere, so it's nice to have Apple Pay on my wrist. Also, transit pay. Being here in London with the tube or anywhere that has any sort of like transit, it's so nice to not have to pull out my phone or pull out my Oyster card, and I can just like touch my watch to it. You can have express transit set to it, so that way you don't even have to like do the confirm with your Apple Pay type of thing. I have it set for express transit. I literally just touch to the reader and walk in, and it's magic. And I also use it as a remote for multiple things. You can control your music or your podcast, but you can also use it as a camera remote, which is things that people don't know, and it's awesome. So I will open up the camera app on my watch, and then what it will do, is it open? Yeah, it's open. Okay, so now I have the camera open on my phone and on my watch. Now I have to admit, it sometimes it takes a second for the preview to come up on the watch, but I can click the 3-second timer. Oh, there it is. See, I don't know if you can see that. You can't see that. Let me come closer to you. Do you see it? I hope you see it. Hello. I use this feature all the time for when, one, I'm traveling by myself and I want to get a photo. Like, I went to Buckingham Palace the other day. Yeah, I know I live in London. I like playing tourist. Sue me. But I went to Buckingham Palace the other day and I just wanted a nice picture in front of Buckingham, and so I set up my phone against my water bottle, and then I ran away, and then I did my little remote on here, and then I was able to get a nice photo that wasn't a selfie. And it's just so nice to have photos that aren't selfies, and especially like you're taking a group photo and you've got a big group. We can prop the phone up somewhere, or maybe somebody has a tripod or something like that if you're extra prepared, and just being able to see in the viewfinder the like framing of the photo to make sure everybody's in it, and then doing a timer from your watch so that way you can go tease. Like it's so nice. That is a super underrated feature, is using your Apple Watch as a remote for your camera. So there are so many more things you can do with an Apple Watch than just that list of things, but I titled that list on my iPad Why I Love My Apple Watch, because those are like the features that I love about my Apple Watch that make it something that is a part of my everyday carry. I won't leave the house without it because it's got so many great features. So I hope if you're somebody who has been intrigued by the Apple Watch, or you've been looking for the reason to get it and you just haven't found it yet, that hopefully this video was helpful for you in some way, of either making the decision of like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna bite the bullet, I'm gonna get a watch, or you said, hey, I don't think it's worth it for me, and that's fine. I love my Apple Watch. I'm a big Apple Watch fan. I will continue to be as long as they continue to be around. My mom's a big Apple Watch fan. Like I said in this video, I've converted a few friends to be Apple Watch fans, and who knows, you might be one of those people who is a new Apple Watch fan because of my blabbing about it. So that's my Apple Watch FAQ, why I love my Apple Watch, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching and sticking around and making it to the end. If you are new to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, really supports me in the channel. And of course, before I go, I have to take a brief moment to thank all of my Patreon supporters. The people you're seeing on screen right now are the beautiful, lovely people who are part of my top tier of patrons. And if you want to be like them and have your name tattooed on the end of all of my videos, you can go to patreon.com/Annelies. And thank you so much to all of my patrons of past, present, and future. And with that, that is it for me. Stay beautiful, have a marvelous day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!